I start with you. What are we hearing about Big Ben and the Steelers?
Good stuff, positive stuff, Greeny, that points to a return. Look, they've had conversations in recent days. There has been some momentum toward finding a way to get him to stay there. He's amenable to it. The team is interested in doing it. I talked to one person close to this situation in the last couple of days who said they'd be shocked if Ben Roethlisberger was not the starting quarterback of the Steelers this year. Obviously, it could still go sideways. The numbers are significant. The most they can possibly save on that cap number, if he's on the team this year, is $14.34 million. So it knocks it down to about, what, 27. So still not great, but a lot better. And it looks like they're pointing toward a resolution that would keep him there. We could get into the math, if you want, of how they extend it and voidable years and all that. But fact of the matter is, if he's on the team, they can knock that cap number down by as much as $14.34 million, which would then be their dead money cap number for him next year. But it would result in him being the Steelers quarterback for one more season.
Okay, I think from the fan standpoint, the most important piece here is it sounds like he will be back. So if that is indeed the case, Dominique, let me put it to you this way. When you make a list of teams you could see winning the Super Bowl next year with Big Ben, are the Steelers on it?
No, not as currently constructed. I mean, they have plenty of talent on offense, but that O-line needs to improve. They have even more talent on defense, but we've learned in recent years that that's not enough to carry you to the Super Bowl. So I think with some schematic changes, maybe they could be more competent on offense, particularly late in the year, but they're going to have to strike gold in this draft. They're going to have to find a couple of real difference makers to be able to make this a championship team, and that's unlikely. That happens rarely. If anybody can do it, the Steelers are historically pretty good at building a team and staying competitive. So I won't say there's no chance, but pre-draft, I look at that team and I don't see a Super Bowl contender.
Marcus, I saw you nodding along. Now, let me make a case on the other side. They were 11-0 at one point this year, and they had a ton of injuries on what was an outstanding defense. But you agree with Dominique, they're not a Super Bowl contender among all those teams in the AFC?
No, G, unless they insulate Ben Roethlisberger. He cannot be the catalyst for this offense to have a tremendous amount of success. We saw the short intermediate passing game that they tried to emulate a run game with that wouldn't be successful down the road. People start sitting on it. Look, this was an X's and O's thing as well. Like, people just start sitting on short routes and took it away from Pittsburgh, and we saw them become a very regular, average team. Ben needs to be insulated, similar to how Phillip Rivers was insulated in Indianapolis. You cannot ask him to be the guy and the reason you win a Super Bowl. He needs to be a part of it. And there's nothing wrong with that at this juncture in Ben's career. The problem is the Pittsburgh Steelers have a lot to do in order to insulate him. And the number one thing you need to do to insulate these older quarterbacks is formulate them a run game, which they struggled at more than anybody in the NFL last year. And Pouncey just retired. So it's more than just getting Ben back. The Steelers need to figure out how they can insulate their quarterback from not having to throw 50 passes a game.
It's 100% right. And they will also at some point have to figure out a succession plan, but it doesn't appear this will be the year for that. Meanwhile, Ben has been in Pittsburgh for 17 years, which brings us to Hembo's sneaky question for our friend Graziano today. Which Hall of Fame quarterback had the longest career playing for only one franchise?
I had to check with Hembo to make sure I was right on this. It excludes anyone who ever played for another team. So if you played for one team for 80 years and then you played one for another, you're ineligible. So it has to be somebody who only played for one team. So I'm thinking about guys that played a long time and never played anywhere else. I'm thinking about the first quarterback I covered as a reporter. It was Dan Marino in Miami, who played in Miami forever, was never not a Dolphin. Is it Dan Marino?
He's a machine. The man is a machine. Kidding? That is correct. Dan Marino, 17 seasons.
Have to consider drafting a quarterback with the 10th overall pick. With quarterbacks available in this draft, continuing uncertainty about Dak Prescott's long-term commitment, I think they would have to consider drafting a quarterback, even though that's not the way Jerry Jones has operated. I mean, he's only done that once, and that was the first year. 1989, drafted Troy Aikman, #1. Overall, it's not a philosophy that he's generally embraced, but it did produce 3 Super Bowl wins, the only ones that have taken place in Dallas since Jerry's owned the team.
That certainly got a lot of conversation going here. And we are joined this morning by our insider, Dan Graziano, in the lower right of your screen. And Torrey Smith is back for another Wednesday, and we're delighted to have you. But Dan, I will start with you. If they are not able to get a deal done with Dak, and Lord knows they haven't been able to now for 2 years, is there reason to believe they will take other steps, like maybe a draft pick, to try and address that quarterback situation?
They'd certainly have to consider it, Greeny. I mean, to Ed's point, it is not something they do. Since the Troy Aikman pick in '89, they've only taken one quarterback before the 4th round, and that was Quincy Carter in 2001. So it's not something they do. But, you know, I talked to Todd Archer, our Cowboys reporter, a lot. We talk about this situation a lot, exchange notes. He pointed out they went 30 years without drafting an offensive lineman in the 1st round. Then they did it 3 times in 4 years. April. And you're confronting the possibility that he is going to play another year on the franchise tag and then leave in free agency next year when the franchise tag would get to $52 million. Then you have to consider it, because you have to be thinking beyond just this year. Everything the Cowboys are saying says that they want to keep him. He wants to be there. There's a deal to be done, and I think they eventually get there. But if they don't get there by late April, I think Ed's point is a good one. They would have to at least look at that possibility.
Here's the thing, though, Dan. When you say he wants to do a deal, they want to do a deal, and we have reason to believe they'll get it done.
Yes.
We have been saying exactly that for 2 years. I mean, literally exactly those 3 phrases have been spoken on this program 1 trillion times in the last 2 years, and it continues not to happen again with Dak Prescott in Dallas.
They should have signed him 2 years ago, and they should sign him tomorrow. You know, you're talking about a guy who is an elite talent. Dak Prescott has the exact same quarterback rating as the other quarterback in Texas, Deshaun Watson, yet he's constantly disrespected. No one questions his value or if he should be paid. And Dak Prescott proved when he was gone that he was a major piece of this offense, and it goes beyond simply the field. His leadership and the way the team rallied around him, that was missing. So Dallas, don't mess this up again. You have your guy. Take care of him. He has the opportunity to bounce back. They're already paying Amari Cooper, and he has weapons around him. It's hard to find an elite quarterback. And you have a guy, they don't just grow on trees. Pay him, take care of him, and move forward with Dak Prescott as your future.
That is quite a number. You just referenced it, and Hembo's got it up on the screen. The same exact career QBR as Deshaun Watson. And Watson is the 2nd highest paid player in the National Football League, and Dak is where he is. My former Cowboy is Marcus Spears. I saw you nodding along. What do you think, Swagoo?
Gee, listen, we going in circles. There's a song I was about to start singing, but listen, here is what it is, and I thought Ed made a great point, and Grimes talking about it. Because Dak has the amount of leverage that he has, and because this situation has played out in this long, it might be smart, business-wise, for the Dallas Cowboys to draft a quarterback in this draft and continue to try to get that room to where you might want it to look like without Dak Prescott being a part of it. Because now this is about Dak Prescott and his agent Todd France. This is no longer about the Cowboys negotiating piece. It's no longer about the amount of years. And this is the next level of that conversation with Dak Prescott. Dak can do whatever the hell he want to do now. Like, he's in a position now to say, okay, I'm chilling for a year. Tag me, franchise me, I'm playing. But next year, you got to come see me, or I'm going to see about one of these 31 other teams in the NFL. That's the conversation now. It's no longer about, can Jerry and Dak get it done, and what will it look like, and what will the terms be. That was last year. They went over the terms, 5 or 4 years. Dak wanted 4. Todd France's agent wanted 4. They decided not to sign anything. This is all about whatever Dak Prescott and his agent wants to do, period. Does not have anything to do with the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, so let me bring in Dominique, who has been elevated recently from the president of Dak's fan club to now an honorary member of the family. You are, to my understanding, an honorary member of the Prescott family. And so now here we are, Dominique, talking about them bringing another quarterback in. What is our reaction?
Well, yeah, thanks to Brother Tad, I am now a cousin of the family, and I support everything that Spears just said, because what Marcus is explaining is leverage, and leverage is about your alternative. At the end of this season, the alternative for the Cowboys is no quarterback. The alternative for Dak Prescott is I can go to any team I want that'll pay me whatever I tell them to pay me. So who is more scared of the end of this cliff right now? No one is more scared than the Cowboys. Dak should probably be welcoming the idea of playing under another franchise tag because aside from this injury he had last year, he's never missed a game. He'll be healthy and he'll ball out, and then he'll be a free agent and he can decide to go somewhere else and maybe take less to win a championship.